check mark there, and units, put a check mark there. So essentially what we're doing is we're turning on 4 things. And again, AutoCAD, I believe they did this on purpose. So that's what we want to do there. So to go back here, and I would really recommend you write these things down because I'm not going to print this out. So these are what you want to do. You want to customize your interface. I've gone over this every week now, but I just want to make sure we're clear on it. So customization, you do those things. The next thing is your command line. Your command line is the next thing. And the command line, we talked about this, we're going to dock the command line, and then we want to stretch it to display 3 lines of history. All right, and the reason why we do that is because when you're working with AutoCAD, AutoCAD is a verbose software. It's going to talk to you. It's going to have words. You're going to have to read words. It's not just drag a mouse around. And so you're going to want to dock the command line. And you're going to want to stretch that command line to display 3 lines of history. Why 3? Because 4 is too many and 2 is not enough. It's got to be 3. And the reason why I say that is there are some commands that actually will overlap into a 3rd line. And if you don't have 3 lines, you're going to be confused. So you want to have 3 lines of history. 4, I mean, you can have 4 or more. You're just taking up more screen space then. It doesn't make any sense to do more than 3. And 2 is not enough. So that's why you want to have 3. The menu bar. You want to show the menu bar. You want to click up at the top on the quick access command, and you want to say show menu bar. And this is just for you guys to know. There's 3 shortcuts that you press your control key and you open up, and these are 3 that are fast. Okay, there's properties palette, design center, and toolbars. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm going to throw a couple more out here because I think it's helpful. To start different commands, there's the ability just to simply type. And if I do this, L equals line, Z equals, who knows what Z equals? Zoom. And then F equals fillet. And M equals move. And C equals circle. I'm just doing these by memory. E is erase, thank you. Any more? U is undo, yeah. Undo. Okay, and then, but there's a whole bunch of them, and I'm just kind of throwing those out there so you get the idea. Yeah, that's all I can. Well, there's more, but anyway, we'll just leave that alone for right now. Okay, so this is what we would do. So. What I would definitely recommend is that these AutoCAD interface tweaks, that you write these down and that you do these every time you go into AutoCAD. And the reason why is this interface is going to change. However, if you've installed AutoCAD at home, this won't change. It'll stay the same. And you can basically have the same interface every time you go into it because AutoCAD does that. It remembers, it's sticky. It's going to remember what you did. But here at the school, the system gets rebuilt. And so what happens is everything you put in there is forgotten week by week. There may be a week or 2 here where it doesn't happen, but I found that every week that I've been here, it's been different. So you want to have these things right here. And so those are the AutoCAD interface tweaks. Now I'll put this back, I'll leave that up there and I'll just kind of like start to talk a little bit more. So what we've been talking about so far have been some of the commands in AutoCAD. We've covered line. What is the command in AutoCAD? There's a line, but then there's another tool that allows you to draw a multi-segmented line that contains a number of segments that are connected. What's that called? A polyline, very good. Then there's the circle command. Then there's another command that we looked at, and this allowed us to make a copy of a polyline to give us an interior wall if we draw an exterior wall. What was the command that we used for that? Offset. Very good, very good. Okay, and then what is the name of the tool that we use for putting measurements, that show measurements on our drawing? What's that called in AutoCAD? Very good, dimensions, okay. You're learning, this is good, this is good. And because part of this whole thing is learning the vocabulary. Other than that, there's some other things we're going to get to. I actually have been teaching, I've taught the last 4 weeks, I've taught AutoCAD the last 4 weeks. I teach remotely, and I've had class of 12 people each time, so it's like I go through this and I keep on thinking, what did I teach them and what did I teach you? And I should write it down, but I haven't done that. So I've got to basically figure this out. But I do know this, you have to do this stuff. And there's a couple cool things you can do in AutoCAD, really cool things you can do to really jazz up your interface. I have my interface set up at home right now just because I thought, oh, why don't I do it? I basically turned off the ribbon and just gave myself a couple of little tools on the side. I got a big blue bar on the bottom with white courier text like it was in 1992. And I basically am running AutoCAD as if it was a DOS program. And it looks cool, it's awesome. And I'm having fun with it. And then anytime I want to, I can just jump into the graphical interface and use that. But I just went ahead and did that. So anyway, that's something that you want. So to go over what that looks like, what we would do then is with this, we would go into our command line. Now if our command line is like this, and I think a lot of yours are kind of like this right now, what you want to do is you grab it by these, can you guys see that? All right, let me do this. I will float it, and I will give you a better look at it. Is that a little better? Can you see it now? Better? Is this even better? Okay, we're gonna look at this right here. All right, so we're looking at this. And so what we've got going on is we want to take the command line. In the command line, we grab it by the dots. Any of your toolbars, you grab them by the dots. It's kind of like a grip. It's kind of like a knurled grip. You grab it and you slide it until it turns into a rectangle. And it's kind of sticky. It's kind of, you might have to think around a little bit, but just have confidence, it'll go in. And once it goes in, it's going to give you 1, 2 lines, and then you have this right here. So you want to give it one more. So you want to hold your cursor here so it turns into a double arrow. And when it turns into a double arrow, you take it and you slide it up. And it gives you now 3. So now I got 3, and then your command line right here that's available for new input. So that's what we would do. Okay, so that's how we would dock the command line. The next thing you want to do is you want to show the menu bar. The menu bar I find to be another way to access a number of tools in AutoCAD. Some people work exclusively from the menu bar. So to turn on the menu bar, you go up here to the top, and this is what's called the Quick Access Toolbar. In the Quick Access Toolbar, you hit this drop down here, and you'll notice that right here you see Show Menu Bar. You want to turn on the Show Menu Bar, and watch what happens up above the ribbon. You get a row of tools here. And these tools right here are like draw, and all your draw tools are here. Modify, all your modify tools are here. The same kind of content that's here and here, but presented in a little different order. Some people find it easier to go through these different items right here. Plus there's some content up there that makes it easier. Some people love these dimensions right here. They're right here, you have all these dimensions. That's pretty cool right there. So that's a couple things here. And then the last thing here is Control 1. If I hold my Control key down, hit number 1, it opens up, in my drawing here. If I go to Control and number 1, it should open my Properties palette, but it's not. All right, why isn't it happening? Okay, let me go here, so Control 1, there's my Properties palette. So my Properties palette will show up if I hold my Control key down, hit my number 1, and these are properties that will allow me to edit various objects. Right now, nothing's selected. If I had a line though, and I went ahead and I drew this line, and then I clicked on one of the items, it tells me, yeah, this is a line. Then it says, okay, it starts here and it ends here. So I could actually say, okay, instead of starting from 24, I could say start from 25. And it goes ahead and moves that. Okay, so you can edit things at a pretty decent level here. And so circles, whatever, if I have a circle here, C, enter, and go like that, and if I click on the circle, you'll notice that I have some things that I can edit here. I got a circle, and here I've got the radius, and if I type in 2 for the radius, it's going to shrink that. And if I go back to the radius and I type in 4, it's going to make it larger. So these are some edits that you can do, and on top of that, I could also do some changes, such as go into the color and change the color, or whatever else I might want to do. This is typically, since I don't have any layers in this drawing, I'm doing it this way, but typically what you would do is you would do this in a different way, but you just let the layer control it. But for right now, just to show you just what you can do, that's how that works. And so